there has been a lawsuit filed against the military. This is a federal lawsuit that alleges that the military has been dismissive in cases of sexual assault and rape. So there are 8 current and former members of the military, they're all women, who have filed this lawsuit. And they said that in some cases, if they went to their commanders and told them what was going on, not only would they be dismissive, but they would threaten them with actual consequences as if they did something wrong in this case. So I think this is an important case, and I guess we'll see what happens. But it's a really interesting culture that we're seeing in the military, and not just in the military. I think when it comes to certain Ivy League schools, when it comes to a lot of different institutions in this country, people want to be dismissive of rape or sexual assault. They want to brush it under the rug. I think it's out of fear that their reputations will be tarnished. And also in the military, keep in mind, you know, the story we did about Rush Limbaugh airing on the Armed Forces Network.
So there's this culture of misogyny that runs through Rush's program. Now, it doesn't necessarily lead to this. That's too much of a stretch, right? But it unfortunately reinforces some of the ugly parts that we're finding here. And unfortunately, so little of the cases get reported in the first place. And then of the ones that get reported, so little go to court. And then about half of those get convictions. And so it's a tough environment, especially because keep it real, there's an old boys network where you know, all these guys have known each other for a long time, and if you come and say Bob sexually assaulted me, you know, Bob's friend Joe is like, oh, come on, Bob, no, and then they're going to want to retaliate against these women. So I think they're very, very brave to come out and say, hey, you know what, we have to be public with this, even though it's obviously something that's embarrassing, and there's no reason you should be embarrassed. It's not your fault at all, right? But still, it's a tough thing to come out and to say this publicly, and it takes a lot of guts, and I'm really glad they're doing it. In one of the cases, the woman was gang raped, and when she reported it, the commanding officers were like, well, it's 2 against 1 because there's 2 of them, and they say it was consensual, and you say it was gang rape. So she's like, so the more people you get raped by, the less chance you have of having it go to court or there being consequences to that action? That's hideous. I mean, that sounds like Saudi Arabia. Yeah. So no, we've got this, the military. I know, you know, some of, like Panetta, the Secretary of Defense, says that they have 0 tolerance and they're trying hard. And look, he's a new Secretary of Defense relatively, so you got to give him some time to be able to enforce that. So it's too early to criticize him for that, if you ask me. But at the same time, they got to try a little harder here because the evidence seems to be that this culture is fairly vast and has taken hold in the military, and they got to work really hard to root it out.
There was an entirely separate lawsuit, similar circumstances, filed in Virginia. So this is something that is pretty, you know, obviously widespread in the military, and finally women are coming out. And look, it's not easy to come out when you've been a victim of rape or sexual assault, because a lot of people will try to dismiss you and they'll almost demonize you. In this case, Susan Burke, who's the lawyer representing the women, says that the women have been called sluts, whores, walking mattress, horrible terms like that. And also in a lot of cases, there's that whole, well, maybe it's not the guy's fault, maybe it's your fault for dressing too sexy argument, which drives me nuts.
And the number one defense that those guys are going to make, because of course they're going to defend themselves even if they did it, is no, it was consensual.
Right.
Like, even if you don't get into the slut, and even if you don't get into she had it coming, they're going to be like, well, of course she wanted the sex. Just simply like she wanted the sex. And so then you have to, and look, now you can't put the guy away without being incredibly fair to him as well. No question about that. And we want fair trials. So then you got to have a whole trial about whether she actually wanted the sex or not. And that's really, really hard to go through after you've been raped. So that's why it takes an extra level of courage.